Shalom. Call Halal Yahweh Bashem Awashai Bahashem Rakakadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than ever. To the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners, and to the Akwath that are listening and learning, to you I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Chicago, coming at you with another lesson in truth. And I'm going to try to cover, what's the saying, kill two birds with one stone. One being that you can't trust in this system at all. And two, how, how our women often have a Western way of thinking when it comes to relationships and marriage, which can be destructive, especially once you learn the truth about our heritage and who we are. You can apply Western way of thinking in relationships to your marriage, to your union, because it will destroy you. All right, and I the woman say that let me see if I can find this. She said something to the effect that she wished she had been more disciplined, and and been more patient, and it probably would have saved her, heartache, that whole sort of thing. I'm trying to find it. Slovakia. I'm really angry with myself for not being disciplined enough and being stuck. And I only did it to myself. Meaning she feels like now she's stuck without a covering, without a comforter. And that's going to be the case of a lot of women. And what you have to understand is that we are under curses. All right. And and those curses, we're paying the consequences of what we did in our past lives and what our forefathers did. The beauty of it is that we're at the end of it. So all it takes is patience. And that, I guess that is discipline and hope. All right. And there's really nothing else you can do. And as a woman, what you have to understand is that the same way your husband has to wait patiently on your house shy, you have to wait on your husband sometimes. Point blank period, because it's not always going to be the way you want it to be. But if your husband is stirring your macaroni, as I learned that saying, and he actually helps in your household, if you live together or you not, but if you don't live together, if he is assisting you with bills, groceries, assisting you with your children that may not even be his, all right, and he's doing those sort of things for you, spending time with you, you just got to wait for him the same way he has to wait for the Lord. That's what it is. You have to recognize that we literally are under curses, and but you also have to see that the Lord is putting these curses on the other nations, and the Lord is pulling back those curses from off of, well, those of us who are diligently seeking the Lord. The mercy is being brought, because brothers always find a way. All right, they always find a way. But let me grab a couple quick scriptures. This is Deuteronomy, in the book of the curses, the book of the law is what I meant to say. And then Deuteronomy 28 is a chapter about the blessings and the curses. So I'm going to start at verse 45. And it reads, "Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee and pursue thee." And if you've never read Deuteronomy 28 and 68, 28 chapter, I suggest that you after watching this video, that you go and read verses 1 to 15, which are the blessings, and they read from 16 to 68, which are the curses. And when you read those curses, All right, you apply those curses real life, real time to people in the earth. You're gonna find that there's no other people on the planet alive that those curses fit outside of the Negro, Latino, and Native American. And once you learn their history and who they really are, and you read those curses, then it becomes obvious. So this is Deuteronomy 28 and 45, and it says, moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of Yahweh thy power, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. So we entered into a blood covenant with the Lord. All right. Moses read the law, and then we all agreed to it, and all the elders, and then it was signed in blood. It was sprinkled, and then he sprinkled the blood over the people. We went into a marriage with the Lord. And as a people, we committed adultery against our power, the same way a woman commits adultery against her husband. All right. So you got to think about it. You know, according to the law, when a woman commits adultery, the penalty for that is death to her and the man she committed adultery with. According to the law of the Bible, to the law of heaven, on earth as it is in heaven, they're supposed to be put to death. But in this society, the woman is rewarded. All right? She's rewarded with child support, alimony, and, you know, and all other sort of accolades. And then often she'll move in or move the other guy in. Where the victim, the true victim being the husband, now has to pay for a house, home, groceries, for a man who's planting his seed in his field now. All right, this is backwards, but you got to understand there are horrible penalties for this. All right, verse 46, and it reads, and they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. So we can't escape these curses, man, until the Lord takes them completely away. Granted, the curses are now because of the children of Israel waking up to who they are. All right. And it's clear that the way the Christianism being led by Vocab Malone, Haman Malone, Teeman Malone, Amalek Malone, the way they're coming against us. Why? Because the truth is a threat to their rulership and the curses beginning to fall upon them. All right. And it says, because thou servest not Yahweh thy power with joyfulness and with the gladness of thy heart for the abundance of all things. Verse 48, therefore thou shalt serve thy enemies, which Yahweh will send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. All right, so we've been destroyed by the curses, and that happened to the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American, the transatlantic slave trade. See, they always talk about African slave trade. First of all, the people that came from Africa and the slave trade from the west coast of Africa were Israelites, not Africans. Africans didn't enslave other Africans. Africans enslaved Israelites. Okay? Now, there was some Israelite slave owners here in America. You may find that hard to believe, but I did very intense research on it if it turned out to be true. And most of them were those Moors and those Sephardic Jews who were already over here and doing business here, coming back and forth over here. Those Huguenots. All right? But that's a whole nother story. You know, that's not what we're talking about. But that part is true. But nevertheless, that's still the curses. That falls into the curses when it says that I shall be evil toward, thy brother. Roughly paraphrased. And that happened. All right. And then you got going back to the original statement, which started this whole thing off with the lady. See, what you got to understand is that women of today include women who've woken up to the fact that they're Israelites, still want to hold on to the world in their relationships. Why? They want to celebrate birthdays. They want to be all on social media. All right, Facebook and Instagram marriages. showing off the pictures and their business and their family and their man and their children, and which is not a wise thing, especially if your man is a high profile face in this truth. All right. You know, Facebook is not the best place for men of the Lord. Instagram is not the best place for the men of the Lord. All right. Some of us are highly recognizable. You know, I've been identified and recognized by lots of people just right here on the streets of Chicago. All right, and so there's a lot of men of the Lord who are very well known. All right, the Lord said He would make us famous, and right now we're infamous, but we are famous. All right. So to think that way and see that, you know, and I heard Elder Yashawamba say that that's where you get this romance from. And romance was what? It's Roman. And so and in the Roman philosophy, the woman was elevated. That's why they call their languages the Latin languages the Romance languages, which is what the Latin, you know, French, Portuguese, Spanish, those Latin languages. All right. The truth to be said, in Latin is nothing but the language of Satan, of the wicked one and wicked people. Every movie you watch that's dealing with the devil and witchcraft and books, all their chants and prayers are in Latin, just like the Catholic Church. That's how you know the Catholic Church is not of the Lord at all. They chant and pray in Latin. Witchcraft is chanted and prayed in Latin. And that's all that Catholicism is. And worshiping Catholicism is the same way it can be identified with trying to bring that form of romance into your marriage, especially for you like you said, you want to plaster your children faces and your husband's faces all over Facebook and Instagram to try and impress people that are just going to be destroyed anyway. All right. Meanwhile, we're looking at Jacob's trouble. All right. And the beautiful thing, like I said, is that these curses are now beginning to fall upon the heathen, but we all have to go through that. And Jacob's trouble has quietly begun. It just hasn't gone full blown. But and especially now that things have opened back up, so it seems. You know, like Chicago's open completely back up, but Chicago's not open or free at all. It's all an illusion. When you're looking at all these venues with all these people gathering in all these different places all around the country, and all they're going to do is turn around within a month or six weeks to 2 months is turn around and say that the numbers are increased, because they're already saying that in different places. New strands, and they're going to turn around and lock everything down again, and this place will not survive the second lockdown. And your riots and your craziness, you're probably going to have blackouts. You're facing inflation. You're facing gas shortages. I mean, every problem imaginable is going to hit this place. All right? And Esau still trying to use trickery to separate the people. All right? This is I'm in Job. I meant to go to Jeremiah. Job is next. This is Jeremiah 30:7. And it reads, "Alas, for the day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it." The he is the remnant, the elect. All right? The rest of Jacob is going to be messed up right along with the heathen, especially Esau. Because as I'm going to play this short video that the brother Rashai La Yasharala, Yahushua is coming back, put up, the people are hip to Esau's games, including these Ammonites and Moabites. And she's going to expose that this Asian hate bill is not really for Asians at all, and it's just a ploy so that it gave police more power, so that they could oppress Black, Latinos, and Native Americans and people of color. However, she breaks it down at the end. The next Moabite chick, but let's let the little sister here. Well, not our sister, but you understand what I'm saying. Let's let her tell on Esau, man. Let her tell it.
The Asian hate bill is deceptive because all it does is empower the police. But they packaged it under Stop Asian Hate so these politicians can act like they did something when they don't really care. The same day 6 Asian women were murdered, Biden deported 33 Vietnamese war refugees, violating international law. This was also on the My Lai massacre anniversary, where American soldiers had brutally massacred Vietnamese women, children, and elderly. The U.S.
And that's what the so-called white man does. Esau, Edom. That's their MO. All right? Matter of fact, let's run it back again. This is juicy. Let it sink in.
That new Asian hate bill is deceptive because all it does is empower the police. But they packaged it under Stop Asian Hate so these politicians can act like they did something when they...
And that's the same thing they did with Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter is a Edomite, is a white organization with the face of LBGT black women as the face of it, but it's really a white organization. So when things go wrong, well, it's labeled Black Lives Matter, and you can hear the response in these stupid Edomites who respond to it. With White Lives Matters and all this old whole sort of thing. But what they're not realizing is that organization is an organization of them. They just labeled it that so it deflects away from them when everything goes wrong with it. And the name of this video is Crafty Devils, and that's exactly what they are. Crafty devil. Devils mean deceiver. All right, a deceiver, and they are deceivers.
They don't really care. The same day 6 Asian women were murdered, Biden deported 33 Vietnamese war refugees, violating international law. This was also on the My Lai massacre anniversary, where American soldiers had brutally massacred Vietnamese women, children, and elderly.
The root of Asian racism is Western imperialism and the military-industrial complex, and that is so true. It is so true. That Vietnam era, and I can understand why all the Asian countries have not band together and came against Esau. Well, I know it's not in prophecies for the Lord for them to have done that. But when you look at all the things that have been done to them over the centuries by these Edomites, it's amazing, and all the way up until modern times. These Edomites have basically. This is why all the hands of the wicked, meaning all the nations, are going to come against. The day is coming really soon when it's going to be, if you're a so-called white person on the soils of America or anywhere in the world for that matter, you're going to have a bad day, because they're going to learn that they really truly are the minority, and that the rest of the world are people of color, and that the world is truly against them at this point, not just here in America, but abroad. They're going to find it out the hard way. All right?
U.S. empire is so horrific, the only way you can maintain public support for these atrocities is by painting Asians as enemies of the state. So only until the U.S. stops militarizing in Asia and spewing lies to manufacture support for war.
And all sorts of crimes go on in those countries where the U.S. soldiers have their bases set up in these Asian places. And I lived it. I was there and I saw it. And it was in 9 times out of 10, it was Edomite males raping or doing things to these Asian girls. All right, that's typically what was happening. So I know in Okinawa, Japan, they want the military out of Okinawa. The Okinawan citizens are not with it at all. It's their sellouts in their government. You always got coons in your government, man. Same thing in India and you always had the Indian citizens always wanted them Edomites out of there. But you always have the upper class that are getting the goodies, the monies, those duffel bags that make the deals that allow them to be there, against the wishes of the citizens.
Wars, will the violence stop? But neoliberalism lets politicians pretend like they're good people, all while committing militaristic violence overseas and mirroring that same violence.
And politicians are the worst people on the face of the earth, next to lawyers. and judges, because they don't uphold justice at all. They uphold something else.
At home by militarizing the police departments in Black and brown communities.
You hear that?
That new Asian hate bill is deceptive because all it does is empower the police. You should watch the rest of Haley's video, but this is what I mean when I say that the model minority myth is a means of dividing BIPOC and POC in order to uphold white supremacy. What this bill does is gives the police the power to arrest anybody they suspect of committing a hate crime, and given their track record, it's probably going to be BIPOC. And I hear a lot of, well, you don't ever see white people killing us. Have you seen the news? Have you seen the media? It's all black people. For a reason. I have never seen.
And that's what the media does. Divide and conquer. Divide and conquer. But they do that because you'll watch the media, you'll watch the news, and there'll be horrendous crimes done. And it'll say a male, a slim male, but whenever it doesn't identify color, it was a white man. Because if it was a so-called Negro or Latino, Native American, they plaster their face. Asian man, Indian man, anyone else, they plaster their face. Right? But when they just say it was a man or a woman, it was a white person, because you have to understand that's done purposely, because the whiteness, which is completely made up, must be upheld. As the line in my favorite line in the movie Gangs of New York is when the mayor says to William Cuddy, when William asked him to let his crushers do it, the police were the crushers, gang themselves. He wanted him to do something to that sheriff guy, and he said, why don't you have your crushers do it? And the mayor said to him, no, I need you to do it, because the law must appear to be, because the law must have the appearance of being upheld, especially as we're breaking it.
Minority myth is a means of dividing BIPOC and POC in order to uphold white supremacy. What this bill does is gives the police the power to arrest anybody they suspect of committing a hate crime, and given their track record, it's probably going to be BIPOC. And I hear a lot of, well, you don't ever see white people killing us. Have you seen the news? Have you seen the media? It's all black people. For a reason. I have never seen white perpetrators being plastered across the news the same way that the villainization of BIPOC is. The police are...
She's so right. That's done purposely here in Babylon.
Not equipped to protect us. While responding to a mental health crisis for 19-year-old Christian Hall, they ended up killing him. And Atlanta's spa shooter, who killed 8, 6 of which were Asian women who he described as objects of temptation, was only charged after Cherokee County police received backlash for their initial response being that he had a bad...
Objects of temptation. All right. So, well, you can see this. Let me pan out a little bit. All right. She could have did a headshot and not did that. Now, this is an attractive Asian woman. She could have not did this headshot like this. She could have left her cleavage out of it and just did a head and shoulder shot. She didn't have to do that. So that's what I'm saying. So she's an object of temptation. And so that therein lies a problem in itself. But that's another lesson. But, you know, that didn't mean that just because someone's an object of temptation that you need to kill them. I don't understand that. You know, that why he would seek to kill a woman like this instead of trying to get a number or something. I don't understand, you know, Esau's way of thinking, man. I just don't. All right?
Bad day. They are weaponizing our identity and using our struggle to further oppress the IPOC. We are fixtures to them. Simply pawns used to push an anti-black agenda. Black and brown communities.
And she's so
that
right.
new Asian hate bill is deceptive.
She was
because
so right.
The rest of Haley's video, but this is what
She said that they're pawns used to push an anti-black, so-called black, there's no such thing as black people agenda. Let me read one more scripture, man. This is Job 20 and 22. And it reads, in the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in straits, and every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. Everyone's going to turn on them. Call halal yahal b'shem avashai b'shem rakakwadash wa abba shalom kwam yasharallah.